you ever felt badly after having received a low grade in an extremely difficult course for which you prepared tirelessly? Have you ever felt jealous of a friend who takes courses that are graded less stringently and gets higher grades than you? Have you ever felt that if another instructor had graded your solution to a particular problem on a math test that you would have at least received partial credit for your solution? Well, you're certainly not alone in having these feelings. These feelings are in fact rooted in problems with today's collegiate grading systems. As of the 2006-2007 academic year, there were 4,314 degree-granting institutions in the United States, enrolling a total of 17,758,870 students. The larger universities among these administered thousands of classes, oftentimes with multiple sections. Many lower division classes, such as Organic Chemistry 1, serve as gateway courses to upper division coursework for students pursuing a variety of academic disciplines. During the fall semester of my freshman year at Rice University, over 10% of the university's undergraduate student body was enrolled in Organic Chemistry 1. Multiple sections of the course were taught, and even though all sections used the same textbook, a high grade was certainly tougher to obtain in some sections than in others. Additionally, two students of similar academic ability could have been enrolled in the same section of the course and have put in the same amount of effort into the course, but likely would have ended up with vastly different grades. The student earning the higher grade may have prepared for exams by working old problems from old exams assigned by the professor, whereas the student earning the lower grade may have prepared for exams by trying to understand the intricacies of the molecular driving forces behind all the reaction mechanisms presented in the sections of the text corresponding to topics covered in class lectures. Suppose these same two students were just returned a midterm that they had taken last week. Suppose that there were 4 problems on the midterm weighted equally at 25% apiece. Let's say that the first student responded to all 4 problems to the professor's satisfaction and earned a perfect score on the exam. But the second student made a silly error in the third problem of the test, causing him to arrive at an answer that was not in accord with the professor's answer key. Since the professor had decided against awarding partial credit on this examination, the second student earned a 75% on the midterm. If there are another grader, the two students will have likely earned similar grades on the test. The issue underlying the 3 aforementioned scenarios is that of fairness in the awarding of collegiate course grades. Of course, you'll be naturally inclined to ask, what constitutes fairness? Referring once again to the previously mentioned 3 scenarios, let's say that a fair grade is one within which are embedded measures to address the aforementioned 3 scenarios. Slightly more concretely, a fair grade awarded to Joe Bloggs, who was enrolled in Section 0101 of Chem 231, that is Organic Chemistry 1 at the University of Maryland, is characterized by the following. It takes into account the difficulty in receiving a high grade in Section 0101 of Chem 231 relative to that of all sections of other courses in all disciplines, offered not only at the University of Maryland, but at institutions nationwide. It is awarded with the understanding that assessments administered in the course do not emphasize equally all topics covered in the course, and consequently are not necessarily an accurate portrayal of Joe Bloggs' understanding of topics presented in the course relative to that of his classmates. It takes into account multiple points of view in the evaluation of any non-multiple choice assessment in order to eliminate grading bias. All of this probably seems very ideal, yet likely appears to be impossible to implement. However, this is not the case. Accounting for variations in course difficulty. Some of you golf fans out there may be aware of the use of difficulty ratings for golf courses by the Professional Golfers Association of America, which take into account complicated factors such as topography of the natural landscape, geometry of the golf course, and climatic factors such as the presence of wind.
A lot of mathematics goes into the system because when we look at a golf course, we're looking at 4 things that affect yardage. The yardage is the most important part of a course rating. We're looking at things like roll, uphill holes are longer than downhill holes. We're looking at dog legs or forced layups, which make a hole play effectively longer. We're looking at wind. And we're looking at topography. So then we're looking at obstacles that make the course play more difficult. For example, uneven fairways are difficult to get stance. You look at the width of the fairway. We're looking at the size of the green. We're looking at the shape of the green, the speed of the green. We're looking at bunkers, water. can think of that's out there, we are looking at and trying to arrive at what is the difficulty of that golf course.
Despite their complexity, golf course difficulty ratings are necessary in order to provide a context for a golfer's performance when competing on a particular golf course. Similarly, despite their complexity, academic course difficulty ratings are necessary in order to provide a context for a student's performance in a particular collegiate academic course. In a more academic context, a system of adjusting a student's GPA, taking into account the difficulty of each of the courses that the student takes, has already been proposed by faculty at the Heinz School of Public Policy and Management at Carnegie Mellon University. An algorithm similar to that developed at Carnegie Mellon, but in this case adjusting course grade rather than the GPA, must be developed. Accounting for the fact that assessments administered in a course may not accurately portray a student's knowledge of course topics. For those of you who have taken statistics, a course grade is ideally supposed to be an unbiased estimator of a student's knowledge of topics presented in the course. That is, if a student's numerical average in a course is 98%, then it is estimated that the student knows 98% of the material presented in the course. However, assessments presented in a course are necessarily biased. That is, they may emphasize one topic over another even though both topics were covered in class lectures and in the text. It is my personal opinion that this problem can be remedied by the abolition of grade ceilings in courses. That is, students should be awarded unlimited opportunities to display their mastery of course materials, and there should be no maximum number of points that a student can earn in a course. To observe an analogy, note that undergraduate admissions committees in many universities allow for submission of any written piece of work and increasingly multimedia documents that could make a case for students deserving to be offered admission to the university. Reducing grading bias.
And the final move of this very emotional program, this layback spin, very nice inventive positions and beautiful arms.
Philadelphia back in 1998. He had 15 6.0s throughout the entire event. We'll see what happens here. Not for required elements. 5'6" to 5'9". Rafael Artunian, her coach, alongside.
I think that tells them something about the difficulty of the quality.
Right there, the 6.0s, three of them.
So well deserved.
38 in her career now at the national championships. The next closest skater, Brian Boicano, with 9. That's the spread. 38 to 9. And there's a shot. Michelle Kwan on top here in the short program.
Ice skating competitors get several judges to review their performance, and this allows for them to have a less biased appraisal of their performance. Of course, to have a completely unbiased appraisal of one's performance, one would have to be judged by infinitely many judges. However, this is usually impractical. Students could similarly benefit from having several people grade each assessment administered in the course and have several qualified individuals examine all of their work submitted for the course, and have each of these individuals submit a numerical grade and have the final grade be the average of these grades. In an increasingly competitive world wherein students must compete with individuals from a diverse array of academic backgrounds, it is critical for grades that appear on students' transcripts to be a more complete representation of their assimilation of the body of knowledge presented in the courses that they took. In my opinion, an examination of and further inspection into methods presented here to account for course difficulty, the preferential topic coverage in course assessments, and grading bias will quickly put us on track toward that end.